Yeah, I'm gonna do a live stream of this, and that way it records it to YouTube automatically. Okay, I think it's going. Okay, so let's get started. You guys have it there. So this is the Ramchal. It's a small sefer called Maimar HaChachma, and he goes through a number of ideas, but he starts with the Tefillos of Rosh Hashana. Oh, 1 second. One second. Can you hear that? It's like repeating itself to me somehow. Okay. Maybe I'm going to turn off my volume, so I'm not going to be hearing you. Okay. Okay. So the first piece in Maimar Chachma is a piece about the Tefillos on Rosh Hashanah, and it's a piece that's very. It starts out being very general in terms of what the idea of the davening is all about on Rosh Hashanah, and then he actually goes into the tefillos itself and the words of the tefillos, and what they mean and what it's all about. So we'll go through this and sorry. Okay, let's go. Okay, the Kedushas Hashem. Mosifin uvechein yiskadesh shimcha. Okay, so he's pointing out here that there's a few times that we say this lashon of uvechein in tefillah, right? The first one that we say that we know is uvechein tein pachtecha, right? When we say Hashem, place your fear on everybody, he's going to get to that. However, there's an earlier uvechein in some nuschaos, I believe in the Sfardi nusach. They say these words. We say it in Chazaras Hashatz, being the Shliach Tzibur. I'm not sure if it's by Shachris and Musaf or just one. I'm not sure. But after Kedusha, before he goes on into the rest of the Tefillos, you'll see that he starts the Shliach Tzibur starts with these words of Uvechein Niskadesh Shimcha. So he's just pointing out that the first thing that let's shut this off. I don't know why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's bizarre. One more time. It's distracting. Yeah, it's distracting. Okay, so he says the first uvechein is kadesh shemcha, that Hashem's name should be sanctified. So what does this mean? But in that, the story is like this. The idea is as follows: Ki hine bechlal ha'olam yesh hatov v'hara. Right, in the world in general, you have good and evil. Right, there's a concept of tov and ra, like we saw already. At the beginning of the sefer, there's or and choshech. There's shlemus and chisaron. Right? So in this world, we've got tov and ra. Okay, now this is a very interesting thing, what he's saying here. In the world, we've got good and bad. In the world, we have tov and that exist. Now, they manifest themselves, these concepts manifest themselves in mankind, in Yisrael and Umos HaOlam, in people who are doing Avodas Hashem, right? Yisrael, I mean, obviously it means Jews and non-Jews, or Klal Yisrael and the other nations. However, it's clear from many different sources, certainly in the Ramchal and others, that it's not necessarily, it's not a racial thing. Meaning there are people in Klal Yisrael who could be part of the Ra, and people from the Umos HaOlam who could be part of the Tov, right? It's like the metaphor for Tov and Ra are Yisrael and Umos HaOlam, and the setup of the world is such that there is a smaller amount of tov than there is of ra, right? There's a lot of ra, a lot of umas olam in Yisrael. Klal Yisrael is a very small amount relative to that, right? V'hinei tikun olam. So how is the world supposed to be mitukan? How is the world supposed to be fixed? Hu she'iyah hatov sholet v'hara nichbeh. The way the world is supposed to be, right? Like we also saw this at the beginning of Derech Hashem, is that the The good is supposed to be sholate, and the ra is supposed to be subservient to the good. We don't have a vision of the future. Look, there's a future, right? Olam haba, all the way in where it's all going to be tov and it's all going to be good, and there's not going to be any ra, even ra that is subject to tov. Right? It's all going to be tov at some point, right? But even here in this world, there's going to be a time period, which we're going to see. There's going to be a time period where the Tov and Ra are still going to be here, but the Tov is going to be Sholate and the Ra is going to be Nichbe. Our view of Tikkun Ha'olam is not the destruction of all the other nations, right? We don't view the Geula as the Jews being saved and everybody else being cast into a lake of fire, or something like that, or everybody becoming Jews and then being saved, because that's not how we view Geula. The Geula of the world, the redemption is going to be not when all the other nations are destroyed and wiped out. It's going to be when good is at the top and all the other parts are recognizing that they're here to support the good. The Ra will be nichbet the Tov. And the way that will happen in people is that the Jewish people will be in control, the Jewish people will be sholate, and the non-Jews will be under them, but not as slaves and servants in a like a servitude way, making them work for us way. It's in the same way that we in Klal Yisrael, right? But Klal Yisrael is a mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh, right? We're a whole am of kohanim. What does that mean? What's the job of a kohen? What's the job of a priest in Judaism? What's the job of a kohen? A kohen's job is to, while we're all out working in the fields and plowing and dealing with I'm going back right to the times of the Beis Hamikdash and dealing with their animals and dealing with all of this, right? The Kohanim are the ones who are all the time only focused on Avodas Hashem. And that's what they do. The Kohanim are there all the time working, serving Hashem, doing the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, teaching Torah to Klal Yisrael, right? That's the job of the Kohanim. The job, they're, dedicated their lives completely to Hashem, and our lives are dedicated to supporting them so that we can be supported by Hashem through them, right? The avodah that took place in the Beis Hamikdash supported the whole world, Jews, non-Jews, everybody. All the shefa coming down from the Karbanos and the avodah went and provided for the entire world, right? So the Kohanim, we don't feel like we're slaves to the Kohanim when we support them and when we give them the food and when we give them the things that they need to survive. That yes, we're serving them, right? But we're serving them to serve ourselves, right? It's in our best interest. I'm sure there were people in the times of the Beis Hamikdash that resented the Kohanim also. I'm sure there were people that were like that, and maybe there were Kohanim that took advantage of their position, right? All of that could be. However, the idea, the concept of when it's working right, when it's working well, that there's a small class of people who is here to run the spiritual affairs, and everybody else is benefiting from that and living to support them, right? So that's exactly how it's going to be. That Klal Yisrael, right? This is like during the times of the Beis Hamikdash, during the times of Mashiach, Klal Yisrael is going to be recognized as the ones who are doing this. We're going to, wow, we're the Am Hashem. We're the ones who bring the Shefa into the world. We're the ones who, when we say brachos, right, the Goyim will recognize that. They're going to be bringing us food. Please make a bracha, on the foods from my crops. Right? They're going to recognize that our avoda is what makes everything happening. So it's in their best interest. It's not this idea like of, slavery and, I think that's how I was presented it as a kid, that the presidents of America are going to be, sponging our floors and, things like that. That's not what the Ramchal is saying. The idea is the subjugation of Ra to Tov, and that everybody recognizing that supporting that Tov is supporting Hashem. Okay. When the situation is like this, when the situation is that the Ra is subject to the Tov and the Tov is on top, so that's good for everybody. right? Like I said, during times of Beis Hamikdash, during the times of the Bayis Rishon and Shlomo HaMelech, the whole world was like in a different state. It was in a metukan place. Kihine Kedusha Me'ira B'Yisrael U'Mischazekes Bam, because the Kedusha comes down to Klal Yisrael and is strengthened by us. U'Bayos U'Mos Olam Mishtavdim Tachtam Niskanim Al Yadam V'Nimshach Lehem Meshech Min Kedusha. Right, just like us and the Kohanim, that by us supporting the Kohanim, so the Kohanim bring down the Kedusha into the world, they bring the Shefa into the world, and we benefit from that Shefa. So it's exactly the same thing, that the Umos HaOlam, by being mishtabed, by being subject to Klal Yisrael, again, in the spiritual way, benefiting from Hashem through us, so they are that's how they get kedusha, and that's how they get nitkan. However, if it's the other way around, which it's been now, for a couple thousand years, that it's the Ra is sholet and the Tov is nichbet, right? That so now we're not doing our job the same way. Hine Yisrael mafsidim. So we lose, obviously, because we don't get that shefa anymore. We're now scattered out among all the nations of the world and struggling. But they also lose, right? The world was better off before they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. It's like they hurt themselves by doing that. They didn't realize it or they didn't know it, right? But they hurt themselves by destroying the Beis Hamikdash, because with the Beis Hamikdash in the world works better. Yisrael mafsidim sheim b'shiflus v'kedusha and mischazekes ba'olam. Yisrael, we lose because we are downtrodden, and and kedusha is not running in the world. Because the place that the kedusha is supposed to be with it, which is with us, is not working right. Right, and the rest of the world, loses tremendously also, because now they are no longer connected to this kedusha at all, and things just get worse and worse for them. Okay, so the Ramchal is explaining why is the world in a mikulkal state now? Why are things not working right? No, so it's because the shefa from Hashem is not coming down properly. It's coming down in all sorts of twisted ways, right? And why is that? And that's because it's not going through the normal channels or the channels it's supposed to go through. It's supposed to be Klal Yisrael and the Kohanim among Klal Yisrael, bringing the Shefa down into Klal Yisrael, and from Klal Yisrael spreading out to the world, and that's what it's supposed to be. But everybody is losing out now because we don't have that. We don't have that happen. Okay. But sibas bezim atzavim ha'ela shezacharnu hine higalos malchus yisbarach ba'olamo o his alma. So what is it that determines whether or not things are in the right order or not, whether things are structured in the right way or not? It's whether the Malchus of Hashem is revealed in the world or not, right? If Hashem is not revealed in the world, if Hashem is not, nobody knows that he's here, he's hidden, so that causes, that's one of the factors, or that's the factor in the world being in this messed up state, in this broken down state, right? But the Higolos Malchus of Hashem would reveal himself, right, by revealing the Malchus of Hashem in the world, so then that would, organize everything in the right way. Right? Because if there is Gilui Shechina, if Hashem Malchus is revealed over here in the world, so then Klal Yisrael is Sholet and things run right, and if not the opposite. Okay, so he's just explained to us basically, in a very broad sense, the structure of the world and Tov and Ra, and what are the necessary components for the world to be running properly. Right? The Malchus of Hashem that allows for the proper flow of the Shefa to go through Klal Yisrael and get to the rest of the world. Okay, so what does this have to do with Rosh Hashana? V'ulam v'yom Rosh Hashana ha'adon baruch hu omed kiviyachol bevechinas melech al olamo. So we know the cycle of the Jewish year, right, goes the spiral. They say, we pass certain times in the year, and there's certain ha'aros, certain aspects, historically, however you want to put it, spiritually, historically, that apply to that time of year, right? Pesach is the time of Geula, and Rosh Hashanah is the time of Malchus, because this is the time that the world was created. This is when Adam Arishon was created. We say the Shiur Shel Yom on Yom Shishi, Hashem Malach Geus Lavesh, right? Hashem became a Melech Kaviyachol, right, when Adam Arishon was created on Yom Shishi, because the revelation of the Malchus of Hashem, needed a subject. Right? So on this day, which is the day that Hashem's Malchus revealed itself for the first time, so Rosh Hashanah is like the holiday of revelation. It's the holiday of the revealing of the Malchus. Adon Baruch Hu Omed Kaviyachol Bevechinas Melech Al Olamo. It's the day of the year that Hashem stands like the king on his world. Valkein Hine Hasharu Uya Lispal Lefanav Shiyigala Malchusa Legamre Ba'olam V'Yisukano Olam Al Yedeze Val Iker Zeh Nivne Kol Hanusach Hanusaf Hazeh. Okay, so he just this one paragraph sums up Rosh Hashanah for us in a very, very succinct and very powerful way. What's Rosh Hashanah about? Rosh Hashanah is the day of Tikkun HaOlam, the tefillah for Tikkun HaOlam, right? That Tikkun HaOlam that can only happen through the revelation of the Malchus of Hashem, right? Like he said to us in the previous paragraph, it's only through the Hashem revealing his Malchus over here in the world that the Tikkun HaOlam is going to take place. And because Rosh Hashanah is like the day of the year that's closest to us having Hashem be that Melech for us, reveal himself as that Melech for us. So we take advantage of that day and try to push it all the way through, try to like open up the curtains and Hashem, not just that we're here davening and recognizing that you're right here in front of us and that you're the Melech and you're here and we all know it and feel it, but let that hit the whole world, let that come in and hit the whole world just like it's hitting me, and then the world will be metukam. That's Rosh Hashanah. That's mamash what the day is about. So it's just, I said this year for the first time, I don't know, but where, all the other Yom Tovim are for Klal Yisrael, right? Pesach is Klal Yisrael's exclusive, right? Sukkot is Klal Yisrael's exclusively. Matan Torah for Shavuos obviously is only Klal Yisrael's. Rosh Hashanah is not about us. It's about us. But it's about us as a means to an end. It's about us as a hechatimta, as a way to let the world get to a full tikkun. And if we understand this idea, then this is really based on this is like the whole perspective of the Ramchal on the tefillos of today. That and we'll see this about asking for my own needs and what I want and what I yes, there's an aspect of that to Rosh Hashanah. However, in the context of the world getting its tikkun. That's why I'm asking for what I want, not just because I want a new car and because I want the fancy phone, because I want the, a shidduch, or I want children, or I want this, or, it's because I want those things because I want the world to be metukan, and I believe I'm going to be able to do my part better if I have the things that I feel like I'm lacking, right? But the idea of Rosh Hashanah is a tefillah for the world. We're davening for the whole world, not for Jews, not for my community and myself. It's mamish for the whole world, and is going to explain to this. And again, obviously, it's all interconnected, right? When Klal Yisrael is going to be doing well, so then I'm going to be doing well, and my family will be doing well, and everything will be doing well, right? But the idea is that we're davening for things to do well in the context of Tikkun HaOlam, not just in my, sort of selfish, or even Am Yisrael selfish way. It's mamash a day about the world. It's for the whole world, and we'll see that that's what's going to be in the tefillos. Okay, good so far, so good. Any question? Good. Okay, super. Ulam, I can't hear you. If you Ulam, b'yom Rosh Hashanah. Oh, we just said that. Yeah, fine. V'hine, b'tchila nemar yiskadesh shimcha. Okay, so now he's going to explain. Now, the truth is, if you have a machzer, you don't need it with you, but I'm saying if you can go through this Maimar HaChachma together with the Machzer, he mamish goes through now in the order of the tefillos. He doesn't address every single word, but he addresses a lot of the words. So if you want to whatever highlight in your Machzorim or whatever, I these are the kavanos that I daven with when I daven with, on Rosh Hashanah. This is, I think even in my machzer, I have a machzer that is that has like a lot of the has the whole Maimer HaChachma in it, like in the notes underneath. Okay, but I'm sorry. So that's why we daven first. Hashem, your name should be sanctified. Behind what does it mean, Hashem, that your name should be sanctified? What does it mean? Sheyizvada malchuso ba'olam v'yagala b'hischazka al Yisrael v'zeu al Yisrael hamecha. Right? It says the lashon of the tefillah is hiskadei shimcha ba'olamecha. Your world should be, your name should be sanctified in your world, meaning that everybody should realize this. V'al Yisrael hamecha, and part of that is going to be that Klal Yisrael is going to be recognized. We're going to be recognized as the ones that Hashem chose. And from this one simple thing, right, from the Gilui Malchus and the Tikkun that comes from it, so all the Tikkunei Ha'olam are going to happen. What does that mean? Vaharishon, what's the first good thing that's going to happen? All the people are going to realize that there's a Hashem, all the crazy people in every corner of the world, and all the people rioting in the streets, and the BLM people, and the BDS people, and the Antifa people, and the Russian people, and everybody's going to realize that there's a Hashem. Yeah, and v'yishtabdulo, and everybody's going to recognize that they have to serve him. V'adavar, can you imagine that? All those Antifa people. V'adavar kaful b'tachtonim u've'elyonim. And this is not only for people, this is not only human beings, but this is also in Shemayim, right? We know certainly from my classes and things that there's, there are spiritual entities in Shemayim that correspond to all of these things. There's like the Sar Shel Antifa up there somewhere. Yeah, and so they're also Shiakiru Kulam HaEmes, V'yishtabdu L'Kedushas Malchus Yisbarach. They're all going to join Hashem. The Sarashal BLM is probably, his name is probably Colin. They're all going to fear you. Osam Shalamatab Olam Hashafel. That's talking about everybody down here in this world. V'yishtachavu L'Fanecha Kol HaBruim. Osam Shalamala. Even Sar Kaepernick is going to kneel in front of Hashem. Okay, I make too much fun. Okay, yeah, is going to kneel in front of Hashem. He's going to be Meshabed himself to Hashem. Everybody, all the Elyonim, all the Tachtonim, they're all going to recognize Hashem and no other power. Okay. Now he says a very beautiful thing here. This is Mamash, a really beautiful idea. He's going to explain now how is this going to happen. And how come it's not exactly happening now? In other words, how is it that the Goyim can get from us, and why can't the Goyim get directly from Hashem? And he says a really beautiful idea here. He's going to explain this why. Because Hashem, we know, is one. He's a oneness, he's a uniqueness, he's an achdus, he's a pashtus, right? We saw this all in Derech Hashem. He's simple, there's no components to him, it's all one thing. So the way I understand this is like this. Hashem broadcasts his shefa on the frequency of oneness, right? On the frequency of achdus. That's how Hashem broadcasts his shefa to the world, right? In frequency one. V'hina Yisrael, now Klal Yisrael, af al pi shebi'ishayim hem rabim, even though we are physically different, right? We are many individuals in Klal Yisrael. However, nikroyim goy echad. We are referred to as one nation. We're referred to as goy echad baretz. We're one people, right? And we know this about Klal Yisrael, that there's a oneness that combines all of us, right? So while we are separate, we are all one. Okay, and because Hashem broadcasts on a signal of yichud, of oneness, so it makes sense that we pick up this frequency, right? We are the only group over here in this world that we are separate, technically, physically. We are separated one from each other. However, we all are vibrating on the same frequency. We're all resonating to the same frequency of Achdus. There's a yichud and an Achdus that is among all Klal Yisrael, and therefore we pick up that frequency from Hashem. However, Goyim are not like this at all. There's no Achdus, there's no unifying right? That's the Gemara says, Atem kruyim Adam. Ve'enu musa'olam kruyim Adam. So it doesn't mean that we're humans and they're not humans. We are a human, right? We are considered one, right? And Goyim are not. Goyim are separated. They're all different. V'nifradim legamrei. Ve'enam niskanim beyichud v'nimtzayim rechokim me'atikun legamrei. Right? They don't have a receptor for yichud. They can't tap into it. The ein lahem tikun ela sheishtabdu Yisrael. It's exactly the same like Kohanim and us, right? We can't do the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash, right? If we would try to do it, we don't have the receptors, we don't have the kalim, the plugs that'll make it work, right? But by us doing stuff at the Beis Hamikdash, it's either nothing or it's a terrible avera, right? However, we support those Kohanim and we are nitkan through them, right? We get what we can't get, we get through our support of them. So it's going to be exactly the same thing with the world. The Klal Yisrael is an achdus. We have a yichud. We have a oneness. So we are the ones who are able to tune into that oneness, to that yichud. Goyim can't do that naturally. However, by their supporting us, by their being mishtabed to us, so that gives them the tikkun. Va'az mashem mitzad atzmam heim beribui k'moshe kasavnu hine mitzad Yisrael yashuvu liskashev yachzru gam heim levachinas achdus. So through their connection to Klal Yisrael, they can also reach a oneness. Va'az yuruuyim gam heim lekabel tzasa aram or yichud, and then they are also able to tap in at least a bit to this idea of yichud. Okay, so this is a very interesting idea. I haven't seen this, elsewhere. This very interesting idea in the Ramchal about what's the fundamental difference between a Klal Yisrael and Goyim in terms of our ability to tap into what Hashem has to offer, because of this idea of achdus, of yichud, that we are a oneness, and therefore we are able to receive what's being broadcast on that frequency, and Goyim can't except through us. Okay. Now this is very cute. This next thing, not cute. I'm saying there's something cute about this. When I lived in America, so I lived in Passaic. So there was an Agudas Yisrael over there in Passaic, and they used to put out a weekly, like a little sheet with the davening times and the Divrei Torah, little, and they called it Aguda Achas, right? Aguda Achas, which is a quote from the tefillah over here in Rosh Hashana. And I always, I like that. I thought it was cute. What's interesting is that Ramchal's going to tell us now that really that line. I'm not being critical of the person who I'm saying whatever. I'm sure there's many different interpretations of what that line is referring to. The Ramchal says here, very interesting, that that's really referring to the Goyim. That the Aguda Achas that we're talking about, having at the times of the Geula is really the Goyim being an Aguda Achas, because we are already oneness. It's talking about a tikkun that's going to hit the non-Jews, which is only going to hit them when they form an Aguda Achas to serve us, serving Hashem. Right, just like all the other parts of the branches and all of those things are all connected together by being bound with that one aguda, so they're going to be an aguda together with Klal Yisrael. And now that all of those people are out there and they don't know the truth, and they've got a heart of stone inside of them, and they are running around doing all sorts of things. Then they're going to be all fixed. They're going to have a fixed heart, open heart surgery. They're also only going to want to do the Ratzon Hashem. And that's, again, this is from the Lashon and the Tefillah, these words that we're davening. Again, this first paragraph with V'chein tein hachtacha is really not talking about us at all. It's not talking about Jews. It's not talking about Klal Yisrael. It's really focusing on the world. We are davening, Hashem, let the world recognize you. Let every broadcast on CNN, begin and end by saying, there's only one God, and God of the Jews is good. Now on to the peaceful riots. So we're davening that the goyim should all move, bind together, la'asos ratzoncha b'lev of shalim, and that they should, shed all of their shtuyot, shed all of their, ra and their wrong perspectives and all of their anti-Semitism and all of these things, and just accept Hashem. Okay. V'hinei, hayodim sisrei hanhaga be'emes, people who know how the world runs. Yodim sha'af al pi shelefi anira olam nezav lemikra or levachiras b'nei adam legamrei. We know this. The people who know hashgacha. So even though the world looks like it's been, left and it's, just whatever people do, that's what happens over here. We all know that Hashem can do whatever He wants, whenever He wants. Hey, hey, hey. Okay. Can you hear that? You heard the cats? Yeah. Protect you. Don't. Okay. One very small and one very big. Okay, it's starting to get aggressive these days. Okay. And that's why we say, but we know that even though it looks really bad and it looks really, random, and it looks like bad people are doing whatever they want, and but we know that Hashem can do this any second. And that's this next line that we say in the davening, that we know, Hashem, that the dominion is all yours, and that you can do whatever you want, and that it's all up to you. And okay, 1 second. Okay, do we have time for the next one? We have time to go. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Okay. Okay. So this is the first. This is the uvachein tein pachtacha. Okay. So that now we've got. I don't have my Rosh Hashana sitter here with me, but there's a few uvacheins that we say. The first one is uvachein tein pachtacha, and then we say uvachein tein kavod. I think, right? Does anybody have a sitter by you? I'm pretty sure the next one is uvachein. Yeah, it's uvachein tein kavod. La'amcha Yisrael is the next one. Okay, just thank you. I see you, Suzanne. Yeah, no, go. Take a look. Take a look. So it's on all of the Rosh Hashanah. Shmona Esreis are the same. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's all the same with this. So the first nusach we say uvachein tein pachtecha, right, and then we say uvachein tein kavod la'amcha Yisrael. So he's going to explain what the progression is now from each of these. He started with his kadeshim ba'olam. He started with, and again, in some nuschos it says uvachein there also, but it started with this idea of Hashem being recognized. That recognition is going to lead to the pachad and the yira of everybody, of the goyim, recognizing Hashem and making themselves into an aguda echas to support Klal Yisrael. Right, and now it's going to say what the effect is going to be on Klal Yisrael when this happens. We are already holy. We are already glorious. We are already crowned with an incredible glory of Hashem. However, all the while that the world in its entirety is not fixed, Gam Yisrael in the Megiyim Latachlis Ma'alasam. So we are also not in our fixed state, and we can't achieve the status that we're supposed to have all the while that the world is not fixed. However, if once things are already happening the way that we're describing here, right? Once Hashem's Malchus gets revealed and the world accepts Hashem and CNN is signing off with Hashem, recognizing Hashem, so then what's going to happen? Then everybody is going to recognize that Klal Yisrael deserves the place that we are in. Yeah, that's the idea. That's why we're davening for kavod. Not davening that we should have kavod now, right? That Hashem, let the nations honor us, let them not disparage us, right? I mean, obviously that's important, right? But that's not what we're davening for, right? We're davening for the tikkun ha'olam, and through the tikkun ha'olam, Klal Yisrael is going to be recognized as being the chubad. But it's not going to come through us. You know what I'm saying? It's not. We are not able to make the non-Jews respect us. We can't. All the while that the world is not betukan, so by definition, we are not the ones receiving the shefa. So we don't deserve that position of respect, right? Again, we're kadosh and we're crowned and all of these things. However, the way that it expresses itself in the world right now is not through our receiving that respect. However, once the world is fixed, then as a byproduct of that, we're going to get our respect. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's not something that we are supposed to be earning. We can't earn it, no matter what we do. And we've seen this throughout history. No matter what Jews try to do, we're never going to be respected by all the nations of the world. Are like, oh wow, okay, I see, right? You guys have made more doctors, more scientists, more of this than any other nation. Wow, you deserve respect. That's not what they say. They say you've made more communists, you've made more George Soroses, you've made more of this than this. You don't, right? And there's always the other side of it that they have to see. But when everything happens the right way, so then it'll be very clear. V'dalid mine tova nizkarim kan keneged dalid osius Hashem baruch hu shebehem misatrim Yisrael. So now this is more of like a Kabbalistic thing. We know the 4 letters to the Shem Hashem, Yud Ke Vav Ke. So he's saying these correspond to Kavod, Tehila, Tikva, and Tova, and Pischon Peh. Okay, I don't know exactly what the connection is. But he's saying these Lashonos are Lashonos, languages of the different ways in which Klal Yisrael will be recognized as elevated once that happens. Okay. Okay, so the next one is V'chein Tzadikim, but we'll stop right before that. Let's just see this last little bit. Right now, in order for this to happen, so then obviously this is going to involve Klal Yisrael being back in Eretz Yisrael. Right? In order for the tikkun to be right, so then the Am HaNivchar has to be in the land HaNivcheres. Ukishisrael Yimloch Melech Mibeis David Shu HaMelech HaNivchar Ubo Niksharim Kol Yisrael Likasher B'Kedusha. Right? So then when that happens, we're going to have a Melech, and the Melech will be the Nivchar. So we're going to be the Am HaNivchar in the Eretz HaNivcheres with the Melech HaNivchar, and this is all of the perfect structure to set us up to be tied to Kedusha completely, right? Right, and therefore, if any one of these things are not right, if Klal Yisrael is not recognized and Eretz Yisrael is not recognized and Melech Yisrael is not, so then everything is not going to be as it should be. And that's why we daven in this order. Okay. So he explained here the first 3. We'll get to the next one next week. Maybe they're fighting on it. Maybe we're going to do this more than once next week, just because there's there's a lot on this. Oh, we're almost at the very end here. I'm sorry. Okay, let's just finish. Well, let's finish this one piece with the Tefillos. I'm sorry. Oh no, it's not. It's 2 paragraphs. Okay, fine. We'll do it next week. Okay. Have a great Shabbos, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.